How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome back to the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise mode, episode number 19, headed into the 2028 off-season. This possibly being our final YouTube recorded episode before we move to the next few, which will be via a live stream. More details on that will be given at the end of this episode, so you won't want to miss out on that, as we'll be going live this week to start wrapping up our Penguins series. But let's start getting through what happened in the postseason. If you watched the last one titled Years Off of My Life, you'll know that it was a crazy one. We ended up losing in 7 despite being the President's Trophy winners to the New York Islanders in round number 1. We were down 4-1 with under 10 minutes to go in the third period. We tied it up 4-4, but then lost in overtime, partially due to some very poor AI, but we wouldn't have been there in the first place if it wasn't for certain players ghosting and just a poor series overall. The Islanders ended up losing to the Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Final, and the Canadiens lost to the Oilers as Edmonton won their 3rd Stanley Cup in the last 4 years in this simulation. Pretty unheard of within a franchise mode. Leon Draisaitl carried us, going goal per game. Morrissey was great. Ekblad, Marchessault, Eriksson Ek, all very good. Alex DeBrincat, who has scored 40 goals over the last 2 seasons, 40 goals plus, scored only 1 goal in 7 games. Also, another big letdown was Brian Rust, who scores on a 40-point pace in the season, but over the last 3 years has scored on a 60-plus point pace in the postseason. He scored 1 goal in Game 1 and then did nothing for the next 6 games. Aside from that, goaltending was okay. Blomqvist ended up winning the Vezina Trophy, but went 3-2-2 in the postseason. He had a shutout and a .904 save percentage, but 3.15 goals against average, and when the team wasn't scoring, that was enough to do us in. So now headed into the off-season, I don't think we have a ton to change necessarily. We were in a transitionary type of year, having just lost Crosby and Malkin and the final pieces of that core. Now we're actually losing the actual final pieces, with Rust moving out, with Gensel having been traded out. Our core together now is Draisaitl, who's 32, Morrissey, who's 33, DeBrincat, who's 30, Ekblad, who's 32, Eriksson Ek, who's 31. The core is here, and this is our window. But the youth, Katten, who's 22, DiMaio, who is 20, Jaeger, who is 23. It is now time for them to start growing more. And instead of them just being 80 overalls in our lineup, they'll now be 82s, Katten 87. They will actually be responsible for much more moving forward, especially as we'll now have our unsigned prospects, Wakabayashi and Fenton, joining the lineup. So it is a bit of a youth movement here in Pittsburgh, but as in general, the average age is getting younger, but the core players who are in their early 30s, that should not be changing. However, headed into the postseason, we do have about $16 million to spend, and we really want this next season to be the one. We've already won a Stanley Cup with this team, but we haven't done it in the second part of our mandate just yet. So a cup in year number 6 would really wrap up this series well. If someone like Keller or Tkachuk, especially for the forwards, were to drop to free agency, I think those would be big targets that we'd end up trying to go after. Brady Tkachuk, 89 overall, definitely someone we'd want as a power forward, but let's be honest, let's think about it in terms of simulation. He's kind of boom or bust. 57 points, 70 points, 54 points, 73 points. I'm not spending $15 million on a guy like that. If Brady Tkachuk can be a top 6, 70-point guy for whatever, 9, 10 million, that works. But as always, we'll see what July 1st has in store. Now, before we get into the offseason itself, of course, we'll be thinking about the draft class. As we get closer to the end of our series, the players that we're drafting now are essentially just going to be helping us in the next 10 to 15 year long-term simulation that we do at the end of this series. But for our Stanley Cup run, it's true that no one will really be helping us right now. There are some players that we will be targeting, some players that we went over last episode. Some of the comments will be making note of them. So a lot of low elites out there that we'll be trying to get. But as we are moving towards the end of the series, I think our focus on really trying to get gems who will be great 5 years down the road is a little bit lower as the series is wrapping up. I think that's an understandable point of view. So just a couple of quick comments that I want to go through because I'd like this offseason to be a bit shorter than previous off seasons. Ideally, I'd like to record and then edit this video in the same evening and then have it up for you as you're watching it now, I suppose. I guess I made it if you're watching it now on Tuesday afternoon, in anticipation of a Wednesday night live stream for the regular season, Thursday night live stream for MLB The Show, and then a Friday night live stream for the postseason. And then hopefully in the weekend I can wrap it up, unless we're doing one more year. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Let's just try and focus on making 2028-29 a year in which we capture the Stanley Cup. So it's a busy week ahead with 3 consecutive evenings of live streams here on the YouTube channel. I'll be doing my annual fundraising for the new NHL game. But even if you can't donate, just coming and watching and leaving a like would go a long way, so I hope to see you there. Now, all that being said, let's get into the comments here. Just want to have over a couple of them quickly between YouTube and Discord. Cheating Heel left a comment essentially saying, although things might not have ended how we wanted, it was still an awesome season. Hopefully it'll motivate our players and give the youth some experience moving forward. Make sure you draft Jovanovski, a player that a lot of people left comments about. We'll definitely go after that guy, Jovanovski, I believe in the 2nd or 3rd round. Let Nate Smith go. He's been our 4th line center for the last 4 years, I believe. He's been incredible, but he does want about $3 million, and Cheating Heel doubts that anybody will give that to him. So let's wait until his demands go down, and hopefully we can snatch him back up. Worst case scenario, thank you for your service, and he moves on. If Brady Tkachuk hits free agency, I'd look at adding him. He'd be a beast in the playoffs. If we have to trade Eriksson Ek and then put Catton or DeMaio to center to make it work, I think it still could be an improvement. And then we could use Eriksson Ek to get a young defenseman, blah, blah, blah. The dominoes keep falling down. I think that is a good way to think about it. I don't know if I want to trade Eriksson Ek just yet. He's on a very cheap contract, and he had a good season with us. He's up to an 89. So if we need to free up money, maybe it's Mackenzie Blackwood, because as Cheating Heel goes on to say, another thing we need to figure out is if we bring Blackwood back or move him out and get another backup. Blackwood, although he has been regressing, he is still a great 1B, but he's costing $3.9 million. So if we need the money to be freed up somewhere for someone in free agency, it would probably be from Blackwood before it comes from Eriksson Ek. Another great season in the books. Go GM Data and go Pens. Thank you for all that, Cheating Heel. Before we go on to the Discord server, I just want to highlight one other comment and say a huge thank you to Mila. Mila left a comment last episode saying, "Hey Data, great video and great commentary as always. I was wondering, do you have a P.O. box or anything like that? If you do, what's your ideal microphone? I'd love to send one to you." So Mila and I sent a few emails back and forth, and Mila ended up sending an extremely generous donation that will go towards whether it be a new chair or whether it be a new microphone or whatever else for the channel. It will go towards that. I just wanted to make sure I said a huge thank you to Mila for doing that. Now, going over the Discord server, highlighting just a couple more comments. HockeyCam14 said, "Disappointing playoff run. DeBrincat ghosted us, and it was felt." Jovanovski is a must target. He will have X factors since he has a gold showing, and he'd be great on the 3rd line, or if he grows crazy, in the top 6. I also like the top 6 sniper from early round 1, but I don't think you showed the X factors page for him. Plus, I don't think we'd really have the value for him. Also, if Brady Tkachuk falls to free agency, we need him. We have no power forwards right now, and we would need him for that. All right, Hockey Cam, I hear you. Thank you. Dabrowski-Diego left a comment saying, "Brutal. Just a brutal loss because of this game's poorly assembled AI. But with this season closing, this marks the end of an era. Although Brian Rust is still here, he hasn't retired, this season does conclude the end of Sid and the kids. Malkin, Letang, Crosby himself are gone. Gensel's out of Pittsburgh. Rust is moving on. May we press F to pay our respects to this legendary core." But now, with the insane development of Wakabayashi and others, it seems a new era is beginning, and the NHL's retirement home will now become a young player's paradise. The era where it will now be common to hear Data yelling, "Wakabayashi!" The Sid's new kids era. In short, I just believe that it is great we are now finally getting younger, and we can possibly rely on Sid's new kids. As always, Data, amazing video, and I can't wait for the next upload. Nickname idea for Wakabayashi if he's amazing next season? Pac-Man. I had a lot of people calling him Waka Waka, Pac-Man, some Shakira references, so I'm very excited to see what he can do in this next one season in simulation, and also long-term when we do the longer sim towards the end of the series. We'll wrap it all up now with Alaska, who said, "We gotta have a thin line for DeBrincat. I'd say either we trade him right away in the offseason or give him a short leash at the start of next season. If he doesn't perform the best, like he doesn't get a certain amount of points over a certain amount of games, then find a deal for him, preferably someone who can replace DeBrincat on the top line. playmaker or power forward to play along Draisaitl. Also, love DiMaio, but I think we should have had him on the third line for this past season. You know what? I hear what you're saying. He still scored 28 goals, but he was a lower overall. Now, for Blomqvist and Blackwood, they're great for sure, but we shouldn't keep one, if not both of them. They didn't perform and both fell off. I'd say if you do keep one, keep Blomqvist and trade Blackwood. It makes sense since Blomqvist is coming off of Vezina and Blackwood costs $3.9 million. But as I said previously, it'll come down to if we need to free up that money. And I wouldn't be opposed to making a deal in the season, but over the offseason, unless something really pops up, I think with how voodoo goalies are, I wouldn't mind just rolling the dice on this tandem again and going from how they simulate next year. But still could change over the offseason. And I finished with Alaska's comment because Alaska finishes this comment with suggestions for our next franchise mode. Maybe an expansion, maybe a fantasy draft. We'll have to start thinking about that soon as NHL 24 is just around the corner. And we'll definitely be having a vote and a poll on that soon, so keep an eye out. So all that being said, thank you very much to all of the assistant general managers. Let's hop into the draft now and see what we can figure out. We'll definitely be doing some trading down, I believe, because there's some great low elites later in the draft. The Vegas Golden Knights are about to get a franchise Wayne Gretzky player style first overall pick here, so big kudos to them for jumping from 9 to 1. No picks within the top 7 want to be traded. Winnipeg would move pick number 8, but I don't think that's something that we're really considering. No one in the first round really spoke to me. Maybe it would be a small trade down, if anything. So I don't think we're going to be trading down. I don't think there was anything interesting at 28. We'd have to trade probably like 22 range. We really don't have the trade value to make much happen, especially with the fact that we want to acquire more late picks. Guys like Pickering, who have some trade value, we want to use that to trade for more later picks as opposed to getting just a random top 6 forward who's 3 years away, 60 whatever overall, who ultimately is just a dart throw. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate to our pick. Let's see what happens in the draft, and let's see what's up by pick number 28. Let's go back to the beginning. This first overall pick, the Ukrainian Shishkanov, 81 overall, medium franchise, similar playstyle to Wayne Gretzky. My goodness, 4, 3.5, 4.5 star everything. Not one of those players that has like crazy 90s out of nowhere, but this guy will grow to become a monster, I guarantee it. Medium elite defensive defenseman goes second, and then third as well, and then even fourth. A lot of medium elite defensive defensemen. Then we move into the top 6s. Ooh, great value pick for Minnesota. Medium elite 81 overall, and then it drops off quickly. The difference between this guy, 65 overall at medium top 6 potential, and another guy who has that same overall and same potential 20 picks later is not really much at all. A few guys with high overall, we were thinking about going after Sharp. I didn't want to trade up to go that high to get him. 3-star shooting is nice for a 17-year-old. Absolutely, that's great to see. But again, we really are tapped for trade value. We would not have been able to do so without putting all our eggs in his basket and then not getting like 4 low elites later instead. So all that being said, here at pick 28, let's see who's available. We could get Jaden Arsene, who our scouts ranked at 23. He's here at 28. That's really interesting. 3 years away, similar to Nick Leddy. B and C for everything, so probably just a well-rounded medium top 4 defenseman. Nothing crazy, but right D. We need some defense in our system. This would not be a bad pick. But again, I think I want to go quantity over quality. I want to get like 5 low elites instead of just 1 medium top 4 D. That's the thing. So there are some other guys we could trade down for. These low elites here, McCutcheon, Justice McCutcheon, low elite at 18. There's this guy, Damour, Alexandre Damour, who is 5'8", but also low elite. That's also interesting. Then here are the medium top 6s, medium elite goalie, medium top 6s, yeah, even medium top 4D over here. Would these medium top 4D be just as valuable? This guy's 17 and he's a gem. Maybe it would be worth it to get him, even though he's 4 years away, instead of this guy that we currently could get. Nielsen, low elite gem. So like 3 picks between 45 and, where's Jovanovski? Between 45 and 60. Getting like 3 of those picks might be the move for us here. So I'm going to try to work some trades. I'm going to take a couple timeouts. I'm going to see what works best for us. All right, so for my first trade, I'd like to try and trade down with the Red Wings and pick at number 37. Could I get 94 as well? It says that we're a bit off, so it shouldn't be too far. I want to get other picks so I can use them for other trades. Can I get a 4th and a 6th from you, Detroit? Aren't where you need to be, okay. Other way around, if I was trying to trade up, it would cost at least 2 seconds. But here to trade down, can I have a 4th and a 7th out of it? No, it doesn't meet the block particularly well. Just a 4th, you're a bit off in value. Let's go 5th and 7th. All right, let's go just a 5th. Trade accepted. Thank you so much. We got a 5th for trading down. So in exchange for passing on the defenseman, who was a 64 overall medium top 4D, in exchange for passing on him, he didn't like, nothing crazy. 1.5 star defense at 18 isn't super promising. It's not a guarantee. It's not super promising. Now I'm going to go ahead, all top 6D here. With pick number 37, I wasn't planning on going for this guy, but the X factors have probably sold me, I think. McCutcheon here, big Justice McCutcheon, 6'2" playmaking winger. 3 years away with already something to do with X factors, it looks like. I'm not sure what he'll have, but I like that potential, and I know there's other players we'll want to get, but I like what he's showing me here. So Justice from the St. John Sea Dogs of the QMJHL, 63 overall, low elite with... Give me those X factors. There you go. Justice McCutcheon. Nothing crazy right now. Well balanced. 1 or 2 star everything. No half stars out there. And like 3 sets of attributes with 2 stars. That's good. Puck on a string. Tape to tape. Send it. Third eye. It's tricky. Yeah, no problem. This is hopefully a guy that gets into your lineup by, 3 or 4 years from now. He gives it some chemistry, and then you see what happens. Just exclusively for the X factors and for the potential, I'm all right with that. So that's pick number 37. Let's see what we want to do next. Next up, I'm going to try and get pick number 46 from the Panthers to take that defenseman by Neural. Let's give them pick number 60 and Owen Pickering. Let's get him out of here. Maybe we could get more out of this. The Panthers are buyers, so I could see them wanting a depth defenseman in Pickering, or maybe just take a chance on him. We're done with taking chances on him. Can I get a 5th out of this as well? I think that's a fair enough deal. A 2nd and a 5th for a 2nd and Owen Pickering. No, quite far off in trade value. All right. We'll try a 7th next year, and if that doesn't work, we'll just go for the 2nd. All right, quite far off. Just the 2nd. Trade accepted. All right, at least. So we move up in 2nd round picks in exchange for trading away Owen Pickering. Owen, buddy, it was a pleasure having you. Sorry that it didn't work out. You were a piece that we inherited here in Pittsburgh, and nothing really came from your development. So we wish you all the best moving forward. Damoul was the other low elite. Did he have X Factors as well? No, so we took the right guy. Let's go. Alexandre Damoul, we took the right guy. Cunning had 67 overall. Okay. With the 46th overall pick now, we'll go ahead and take Bineural. We could have gone a bit lower, but no one really wanted to trade their pick. Lionel Bineural from the Sioux Greyhounds. He is 4 years away, similar to Matthias Ekholm, but he's medium top 4D and a gem, so good to get some youth into the system. Lionel, welcome to the team, Bello. You are probably in the 61 overall, medium top 4D. Not a huge difference between the guy that we passed on in the first round, who was 3 overall higher and 1 year older. And, at 17 years old, I can be a bit more lenient towards worse attributes. 18, I can be lenient as well, but the older you get, the less lenient it becomes. So at 17, I'll cross my fingers for good growth, hope that you truly are a gem, and I'm okay with trading away Pickering to get you in the system. The last guy that we'll want to get this high would probably be Jovanovski. So there's some other good low elites out there that I'd love to go after, but let's trade for around pick number 60 and go after Jovanovski, despite there being a lot of other tempting players out there, like even Nielsen, who's a gem, low elite gem. Any X Factors on Nielsen? Come on. Drew Nielsen. Yeah, he'll have X Factors as well. Is he a sniper? Yeah, he's a sniper with A shooting. Oh, wow, that's tempting. Low elite gem versus Jovanovski. Low elite two-way forward. Great stats, but in a D league, and he's 19. 2 years away at 19. X Factors there as well. I want to get both of them. Everyone loves Jovanovski, but I think maybe we passed on... Maybe we didn't look at him enough. I think people would love Nielsen more. A year younger, worse stats, 3 years away as opposed to 2 years away, but a sniper, eh? Oh man, both are really tempting. They're both gems. They're both low elites. Maybe we just go over after Jovanovski because he would be easier to acquire. Nielsen, we don't have any trade value, so I guess it makes sense we don't just keep trading for picks within a few of each other. I guess it would make sense to take Jovanovski instead. It's sad to pass on Nielsen, but there will be other low elites in this draft. Not with X Factors probably, but there will be other low elites. Now, let's try and get a deal done for Jovanovski. Winnipeg, can I give you McCleary and a 3rd next year for a 2nd today? Not quite. Ottawa's pick's about to be here. Can I throw in a 7th to make this happen here? Come on, Winnipeg. Can we do a 6th in a couple of years? Help me out here, Shovel Day Off. There we go. Trade accepted. Thank you very much. That should hopefully get us Jovanovski. There's that elite goalie. I'll be curious to see who... Oh, my goodness. And then he goes at 58. He was going to go at 63, but he goes at 58. Oh, no, Jovanovski. Oh, wow, that's brutal. I wanted him. Could we still trade for him, though? And what was the other guy? Nielsen was 66 overall, low elite. Oh, that's worst case scenario. 3-star shooting already. Ah, Colorado reaches for him a little bit. Could I say, hey, Colorado, I'm going to make it worth your while to trade him to me instead? I don't know. That's a lot of trade value. That's tough. Oh, we'll still get somebody good. That would be tough, though, to acquire him. That would probably take... It would take one of our low elite guys like this, like Nordquist we took last season. We basically have to swap low elite prospects. I don't know if I really want to do that. Like Nordquist, 63 at 19. Swapped for Jovanovski, who's 67 at 19. Nordquist, he was a power forward. Yeah, 6'5" power forward center. He has X factors of his own. Nah, I don't think that makes sense. You got me, Colorado. You got me. So many comments that said, go after Jovanovski, go after Jovanovski. I tried. He was going to go 63. I traded for 59. In the game, you know, I know in the real world, oh, well, you got to be careful. You never know if a team could pounce on somebody that they like. Yes. But in EA land, a team reaching more than 1 or 2 max to take a guy that they like is almost unheard of. So you can't blame me for not trading. I almost would have traded for 62. So you can't blame me for that one, I don't think. That's just too bad. Let's see at 59. Do we go for somebody else or do we just trade down from this pick? We could go for the medium elite goalie. Nah, we could go for this other low elite, but a low top 6. Terrence Shattenkirk, 3 years away. Nah, that's probably nothing special. A lot of low top 6s here. No, we'll probably just trade down. We'll end up trading down to get Timofey Zadorov. So we'll trade for like pick 70 and try to recoup another late pick for the other low elites. It works out. Instead of getting Jovanovski and then not getting Zadorov, we'll get Zadorov and one additional low elite guy by trading down. The Estonian. So let's try and make a deal happen for Timofey. All right, so Edmonton, I will take pick number 70 and 224, of course. I'm moving down 11 picks. I can't even get a 7th for it, right? So ridiculous, this trading system. Chicago, can I get, I think it's 72. It's pushing it. Can I get 72 from you? And then you give me a 70? I have so many picks. I got my own 7th back at 220. Come on, Chicago, what do you say? Oh, this is so crazy. Forget it. I'll take my guy at 59 then. Ridiculous system. Timofey, buddy, welcome on board. 6'4" Estonian, 19 years old, 5 years away, gonna be super low overall, but medium potential is all we care about. The Estonian. Another Estonian in our series. We had one, Nico Haikila, back in the Sharks series. You know what? 58 overall is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. 58 is manageable. I've seen it work out before. Not the greatest attributes, but medium potential. Thank you very much for end of the second round. I will take that. Our next pick comes at 124. I don't think we can really do much else between now and then. Definitely a lot of guys we'd love to go after. Low top 6s and all those super tempting players. But anyone like elite that we really want to trade up for guaranteed? No, we can probably just go to our next pick and maybe even trade down from there. Maybe. Let's go to our pick and see what we're looking at. So here we are now at pick number 124. Anyone interesting? Not really. There is the top 4D here. Frolik, Peter Frolik, 18 years old, 5 years away. Classic. Medium top 6 sniper. Kolesnik, Mikhail Kolesnik, 5 years away. E for skating. Another classic. Low top 4 defenseman. Lars Gustafsson, 5 years away. At least it's D- for skating and not E for skating, at least. Fritz Meyer, a grinder who's 5 years away. Yeah, maybe it's time to go for the low elites at this point. Any goalies? Nope, no goalies. Let's just go back to all skaters. And I guess we start targeting these low elites. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally, there would be 5 low elites that we want to draft. But we only have 4 more picks. And I think 222 might be even too late. So if I could use 124 and 222... to get 3/6 maybe? If I could find a team that has 3/6 for a 4th and a 7th, that would be ideal. So again, I'll do my research. It looks like this is the closest we could get here. If I could trade 124 and 222, a 4th and a 7th, for 2/6 and a 7th, 168, 174, and 200. Vancouver value is too far off. Could I give you a 6th in 2029 in exchange for a 7th in 2029 and a 7th in 2030? No. Just the 6th for the 7th swap next year. Sweeten it just a touch? Come on. No, that I hate. When it's a trade that makes perfect sense, that's garbage. Here's a 7th in 2033. Enjoy. Trade accepted. Thank you. Okay, so now, with these next picks, I'm going to start taking our low elite guys that we want to go after. No thank you, Toronto. With pick number 133, well, you know what? We could probably, actually, they're all in the 200s, eh? We could probably just squeeze it even a little bit more. Yep, I'm going to play the game. Okay, so long story short, I was trying to do all kinds of trades, but of course I'm pulling my hair out for no reason. I ended up trading like a 5th for a 6th. It was just a lateral move. So whether we took the guy that we're going to take now with our 5th round pick or with our 6th round pick, that's what I decided to do. I'm not trying to play value games anymore because the game is just too fickle. So Brett Hillman, the Croatian, will be the first low elite that we draft here with our final 5 selections. Low elite, 52 overall, we'll take that. Next up will be a Polish player, Jonathan Christie, another low elite defenseman. Alrighty. He is two-way D and 60 overall. That's not bad, actually. 1860 overall. Okay. And this guy is 52 overall at 19. So yeah, this guy Christie was even better. Next pick here, we sim through the pick against Vegas. They get a bottom 6. Great. Now at 170, we'll take Maloney, Trent Maloney, low elite sniper, possibly a relative of Asher Maloney from the Kraken franchise. Low elite, 49 overall. Okay, thank you, Trent. Who knows who grows into what, you know? You never know, especially with Wakabayashi at 48 overall. Yes, granted, he was a medium elite, but still, you never know. Even Fenton, the defenseman, he was a 50 overall low elite. He's an 81 within 2 years. Next up will be an offensive defenseman, Mate Holik. We're really replenishing the defensive prospects here. Oh, wow, 65 overall. Whoa, 65 at 19. I'll take that. Offensive defenseman. Reminds me of Parker Martinez, actually. Back in NHL 20 in the Honolulu Huskies franchise, we drafted a defenseman just like that. 6th or 7th round, low elite guy. He ended up becoming like an 83 overall who would score like 70 points a year, and he won a few Norris trophies. Parker Martinez. So you never know, maybe. And finally, we'll draft a Ukrainian, Ruslan Mogilny. 19 years old, 5'11", probably very low overall as well. And we see 58. Wow, okay, so you know what? The overalls on these low elite guys were not as bad as I thought they were going to be. We'll see who becomes who, and I'm very happy to have those guys. Even though we did not end up getting Jovanovski, you win some, you lose some. That's a sad one. We did get a good amount of low elites there at the bottom of the draft, and we also got McCutcheon with his X factors and all that. At 133, Odell, don't worry about that. It was a pick who I then traded in that other trade just to get the other pick. Don't worry about it. It's someone who I traded away we don't have, and it was just an experiment that I was doing and it wasn't working. And instead of subjecting you to a 5-minute spiral, I will just tell you that it's okay. We don't have him. He was a random prospect with like bottom 6 potential. Scouts will have to extend. Yes, very good. Start of the re-sign phase now, so I'll go extend some of our scouts. And we'll see who we need to re-sign. All right, so now here in the re-sign phase, we'll have $16.115 million. Technically, I guess we could have traded away the rights to Brian Rust to try and get like a 7th or something, but whatever. All right, so right away, Wakabayashi, we know that we're going to be signing him up, guaranteed right away, his entry-level deal, bing, bang, bong, thank you very much. Brian Rust will be walking after 14 seasons, I believe, with the Penguins. He got, whatever, like 2-3 Stanley Cups. It was a pleasure having you at some times. It was a tough set of circumstances at others. We'll wish you all the best into the final couple of years of your career. Jonathan Marchessault, we got him on a 1-year deal. He was very good, but he's continuing to regress a bit too much for us, so we will also be releasing him. Fenton will get him on his entry-level deal right away. Thank you very much. He'll be in the top 6. DeMello, do we keep him as 7th D? No. Wants way too much for having not played at all last season, pretty much. Smith, does he still want $3 million? His demand has come down a little bit. Let me think about that. Any other UFAs out here? Anders Lee, he was good in the postseason. He was actually pretty good. I'd like to keep him as like 13th forward, but for $2 million at 76 overall, does not work. Lashoff will get his entry-level deal, low elite 75 overall. Good X factors as well. Rensfeldt will get his medium elite 75. I think that's it for the UFAs. A couple more. Backstrom and Weaver, they'll both get deals. So the AHL should have a good amount of prospects next season, which means we can start letting some of these RFA guys walk. Just looking at the goaltenders again, everyone is signed on for the NHL, well, the two guys that we have there. Baker being medium elite means that he will now be getting time in the AHL, and that means we will have to be letting Philip Lindbergh walk. An absolute legend, a Data Hall of Fame nominee in the Sharks series, but here in NHL, here in the Pittsburgh series, he has been a career AHLer. He's had good numbers, or at least decent numbers in the AHL. This last season was very good. He played in the NHL. He had 3 appearances going 1-2-0. Just at 29 years old and at 75 overall, it wouldn't make sense to keep him on any longer. But we know that he is a channel legend, and we thank him for all of his service to our channel. So he will walk. Baker will be signed on. RFAs now. Jaeger, we definitely want to get signed on. I wonder what he's asking now. 1 year at 2.2. We could go 3 years. 2.475 is not a lot, actually, for third-line center at 82 overall, continuing to grow. 85% is 2.10, so essentially, like 3 years at 2.15 on Jaeger. I think that's very fair. For a 23-year-old, he'll still be an RFA. 3 years, just over $6 million after a good enough rookie year. Yeah, that works for me. Jaeger will get a 3-year offer. Matthew Knees, I don't know. I'd have to think about who's going where in on this team, really. Callan Lind will get a deal. I want him to be fourth-line center next year in a perfect world. We'll go 3 years, max two-way deal. Yeah, let's go 3 years on him and see what happens. Try and prove yourself in the NHL, buddy. I forgot about Robinson. Yeah, I want to see about Robinson. I'd like to keep him on. Yeah, he's been good. He's been a very good fourth-liner for us. Unfortunately, I can't commit beyond 1 season, though. So I'm going to go 1 year at $950K for Robinson. That probably means that Matthew Knees walks. Hard to tell. Let me count the players here in the system first. We could probably keep some of these guys. Neighbors has been good. I'm going to sign Neighbors. 2 years, two-way. Yeah, I can do 2 years, two-way on him. We'll go 900K on Jake Neighbors. Strangers, I think we'll let him walk. He was getting like depth minutes in the AHL this year, so we'll let him go. LaRose, I wouldn't mind keeping him. He's only 22. He wants 1 point. What? So we'll just qualify him and he'll sign later. Basically, like no defenseman in the AHL. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and DeFazio 6. Yeah, and I'll get one in free agency probably later on. Do I want to keep all these guys, though? I'll probably let Beliveau walk. He's been here for the entirety of our series so far, but 25, 73, low top 6. I'll take care of the rest of the contracts, and then we'll simulate a day. Okay, I'm going to say let's advance a day just so I have a better picture of who goes where. I have a lot of offers being sent out right now. So Robinson's on board, Neighbors, Svakovsky, Nelson, Jaeger. Okay, wants to see a little bit more money. I'm not worried about him. We'll just be a good extension on Lind. But Jaeger, we can just qualify and figure it out later. Wakabayashi, Weaver, Baker, Backstrom, Fenton. All right, that's better. So Jaeger, I'm going to go ahead and qualify him. Noel Nord. Just not a lot of room for Noel Nord. Probably qualify and maybe trade. At least we'll qualify. I'm going to qualify all the RFAs. Yeah, I'll qualify all the RFAs. I could see Matthew Knees working out for us. I want to wait and see for if we're spending big money in free agency or what. I don't want to commit, because if we need to fill a fourth-line spot, I like having him there. We've already tried him out. He did okay. Nate Smith now. This guy was a random pickup in free agency as our fourth-line centerman, and he's been in that role for the last 4 years. Every season, year 1 and 2 was so-so, but then he got way better in year 3 and way better again in year 4. 31 points and a plus 18, playing only 9/16 of ice time per night. 4 shorthanded points as well. Nate Smith has been a good piece for this team. Now, down on that fourth line, I would like, in theory, to have Callan Lind on that line. And even if I go and look at the centerman, I'd like to see... Here he is, Forsstrom. I'd like to see Forsstrom in the NHL next year as well. Of course, it'll depend on growth. It's hard to know just yet. But it's not crazy money that Smith is asking for. So we have the roster spots. I'm thinking we sign him. Worst case, we trade him and we recoup some 2033 sevenths from other teams when I had to trade for like the garbage during the draft. Because right now, 2.675, 85% is 2.273. So essentially 2.3 million for 1 year. He's really proven himself. He has good value in that bottom 6. If we don't keep him, we don't keep him. But to spend 2.3 just to find out on July 1st, I'd be okay with that. So RFAs are all qualified. That's the last UFA. Goalies are taken care of. Okay, I think we're good to simulate up to July 1st. Let's just see what Smith says. Wait for the scouts to sign on. And it's an easy decision. All right, Nate Smith, thank you very much. That's great news. That leaves us with $14.84 million headed into free agency. Let's get to July 1st and see who falls into the pond. Who are the big fish out there? Colton Dock, all right, qualify. There you go. He's on board. All right, now here we are, July 1st, free agency. What I'm going to do is show you the free agent class. I'm going to show the on-call assistant general managers in the Discord server as well. They'll add their thoughts. Then I'll go off screen, do some coach stuff, some scouting stuff, make sure we're all ready to go, and then come back with what they have to say. So on July 1st, we see Clayton Keller, Brady Tkachuk, they all fall. Okay. Let's first look at the forwards, the UFA forwards, sorting by overall. All right, so Clayton Keller wants 6 years at $12.7 million. That is a big contract demand. He's a 70-plus point guy, 25-goal, 50-assist guy. That's all well and good. That's very good. But that would be tough money to spend. That would be a lot. That would be a large, very large commitment. We'd be paying him more than Draisaitl even. Brady Tkachuk, he does want a realistic contract, 9.65 as opposed to like 12 million for the what he puts up. Remember, it would be great. I wish 4 years, 6 years. He wants 8.25. But there's no interest meter. It's impossible to know what he values more. Does he value 7x8 more than 5x9? I don't know. So it would probably be like 5x10 or 5x9.85 on Brady Tkachuk. And he might just be a 50-point guy. Maybe he's a 70-point guy. By Brady Tkachuk, he's a power forward, low discipline. He does take penalties. That's a negative to his game, I will admit. But if he could score 39, even 40 goals in the top 6, that's very valuable as well. I don't know on Brady Tkachuk, though. Yafalo, 85. Arvidsson, also an 85 overall. These guys want way less. I wouldn't mind seeing a Yafalo or an Arvidsson in our middle 6 if they're producing. Arvidsson, 16 goals. Yafalo, 17 goals, 37 assists. Tommy Novak, 18 and 36. It's not the greatest class for the forwards aside from the big fish. Defensively, if we're curious, we see Evan Bouchard wants 4x10 plus. I don't think we're really getting any defensemen here this year. I think we're okay for the defense. And on the goalies, I think we're okay there as well, as Wolf would want 7x7.5. So it's really just, do we go after a big name forward, or do we continue to roll with our top 6 being something with DiMaio included? Because we can roll the top 6, that includes Draisaitl, DeBrincat, Eriksson Ek, and Katten as 4 of those top 6. Lundstrom could probably be a top 6 guy for us now if he's going to be an 85 overall, getting paid $4.9 million. All right, throw him on the second line. There's 5 out of 6. That leaves the last spot either to a free agent or to Wakabayashi or to DiMaio. Then the fourth line is Robinson, Smith, whatever, Forsstrom, Lind, Neighbors, blah, blah, blah. So we have the money. It would be nice to get a big fish, but I don't want to spend money if we don't have to. I don't want to spend just to say that we spent. Eriksson Ek is probably gone after this year. He's an 89 overall. He wants $11 million. Maybe the demand drops, but he's probably gone after this year. I don't think it makes sense to capitalize on his value and trade him now. We traded Gensel for him. He's been a great fit for us. We need a second-line center. I think it makes sense to keep him on. DiMaio could get an extension now. Do we even think about that? Nah, probably not. So that's essentially the question. Do we go after a big free agent and spend the money, or do we roll with this squad and try to get DiMaio or Wakabayashi into that top 6? Tough without knowing what kind of growth we'll see. If Wakabayashi is an 86 overall next year, that changes things. But we'll see what the assistant general managers have to say while I take care of a few other things off screen. Okay, so we've been giving it a lot of thought over on the Discord server. And I believe the consensus is that yes, Brady Tkachuk is asking for too much in relation to his production. For an 89 overall, it makes sense. But for someone who just put up 57 points, you're not paying for him, you're paying for his potential and what he's done in the past as a 28-year-old entering his physiological prime. Shout out to the Discord server. That is why we're going, that's why we would want to go after him even in the first place. Not what he's done, but what he could do and what he has shown himself to be able to do in the past. Now, he's been playing on a not-so-good Ottawa team. He still hits a lot. He still has a good takeaway to giveaway ratio. He has put up good numbers, 39 goals, and that's with about 20 and 21 minutes of ice time. That's what he would get as a top 6 forward on this team, but his quality of teammates would be a lot higher. 581 points in 764 games with the Senators. He's now off to free agency. He's looking for a new home. I have to say, as a hockey fan, I'm not a huge fan of Brady Tkachuk. That does come 100% as being a fan of a rival team of his. I'm sure I'd think very differently of him if he were on the Canadiens in my own personal life. I'm not gonna lie, there is some bias psychologically that is hard for me to shake to say, do I want to give money to Brady Tkachuk? He does some things that I don't like. He has low discipline. He takes a lot of penalties. But in the real world, he's so good. In the game, not as much. At the same time, we need to think we are a team that is going all in. Not just this next season especially, but in the next few seasons before the window closes on our guys who are 30, 31, 32, 33, that range. We have to throw around some of this money that we've had so much of over the last few years. Would it be great to keep DiMaio in the top 6 or to bump up Jaeger if he's doing well and Lundstrom and all that? Yes. But as a stacked team, would it be better to bring in Tkachuk and see what he can do and then bump someone like Lundstrom down and still give him power play and penalty kill to keep him happy? It might be worth the risk. Now, a guy like Iafallo is also very interesting. He's 85 overall. He wants less than half of what Tkachuk is asking for, but he is 34. He's scored 50 points last year. It would be another one-year Band-Aid, let's see who's in free agency next year type of thing. There are no other power forwards out here. He's 28. He has shown the ability to score in the past. Now, that same argument could be put onto Clayton Keller, but I have to admit, if he wants 12.7 for 6 years, yes, in a perfect world, I would go 5x10. But number one, I don't know if I can risk another team coming in and swooping in and doing a 6x12. It would basically have to be 6x12.7 or it's close to 13 million for it to happen. Plus, he's another playmaker. We do have good playmakers on this team. I need someone who can score. If DeBrincat disappears and Draisaitl isn't carrying, who else can score goals? Brady Tkachuk has scored 40 in the past, especially with Gensel gone. So I think it would make sense for us to go after Tkachuk. It may end up not being our best move, but he's the best player available. Free agency, we don't have trade value, but we have money. Let's throw that money around, and worst case, we make trades later on. But right now, we can't go out and acquire anybody really. So I'd love to go 4x8 or 6x8, but we got to go 5 years at 9 million because that's pretty much what the other teams will be offering. I think it's going to be a flat 5x10, $50 million deal. In today's cap world, with that being about 10%, basically almost exactly 10% of the cap, that would pretty much be the same as Tkachuk signing for 8.35 million in today's NHL. So 5x10 is the same as a 5x8.35. I think I'm going to say let's go ahead and send it. I hope the other teams aren't offering way, way more. If they do, I gave this whole speech for nothing. But Brady Tkachuk, 5x10, I'm sending it to you, buddy. Let's see what you have to say about that. We can always play with the X factors maybe a little bit more. I hope he fits well. Brady Tkachuk, that is my offer to you. Now, aside from that, we don't have much else to do. We have a lot of youth in the AHL already, so I don't think it would make sense to go out and sign a bunch of young guys who are 24 and stuff like that. This guy is interesting, Cataford, Mathieu Cataford. He was a first-round pick by the Sharks in 2023. He's a sniper, 3.5-star shooting. 23 years old, top 6 forward, 80 overall. He would be a nice guy for the first line down in the AHL probably, but again, he's kind of like a Matthew Knees where he'd be a guy who eventually would need third-line minutes, and I don't think we can really give that. So instead of committing 1.7 million to him, I'm going to probably put that money onto Matthew Knees instead. So I won't bother doing anything there. Any defensemen out here who are interesting? 23-year-olds, 2371, 2372, but they all want 1 year at 1.2 million. I don't want to do that. But then 2 years, 0.8. So, you know what? I'm going to wait a little bit. Let's go a few days. Let's wait until we get a Brady Tkachuk decision. And from there, we'll make other decisions if there are any others to be made. All right, so let's advance a few days now. We'll get news back from one of the scouts that I sent an offer out for, but I'm very curious to see the growth over the offseason, to see who's making the team next year. That's really going to decide a lot for us. So here we go. We should be getting it either today or tomorrow. Brady Tkachuk, are you signing on and coming to Pittsburgh, trying to get this team a Stanley Cup in the post-Crosby era? Brady, what do you say? Welcome to Pittsburgh, Bello! I was extremely happy to accept your offer. Your cash offer was most generous, and it really was quite easy to make my mind up about your offer. Brady Tkachuk, the newest Pittsburgh Penguin, 28 years of age, signed on to a 5-year deal. I'm glad he didn't want 6-7 years. 5 by $10 million. We have the money now. Hopefully it doesn't get us into too much trouble moving forward, but I think we have the flexibility to make a 5 by 10 fit. Brady Tkachuk, welcome to Pittsburgh. Now that would leave us with $5.84 million, and next year, in terms of extension dollars, we currently are sitting with $21.56. That would be enough to re-sign Durzi and DiMaio, in my opinion. Durzi wants way too much for right now, so Durzi and Eriksson Ek may be on their way out after this season. It would be unfortunate to lose out on both of their trade values, but we'll see what happens there. Jaeger, we can go ahead and sign him now. We were waiting on him a bit more. We can do 3 years at $2.175, I believe. Yeah, I forgot that was more or less than what we offered him before, but 3 years at $2.175, that'll be his contract that'll keep him in RFA status as well. Would Nikita Zadorov want a little deal? Would he be willing to do something small? No, I'd really want him to be on like $2 million or something if I were to extend him now, but 2.5, it's not the biggest jump, but I'm not ready to make decisions like that just yet. And Mackenzie Blackwood would be needing a new contract by then as well. And yeah, we're not going to give him starter money. So we'll keep everything else as is. Let's wait for Jaeger. And after that, it would just be Matthew Knees essentially. So let's see if he can sign on. We would know our money situation a little bit better. And you know, there's other guys, Sasha Obb. There's a lot of prospects who want to make the NHL. We have a great number of players who are really just on that fringe. Braden Jaeger believes that the signing will be good for myself and for the franchise. Very nice. Thank you. So that now leaves us with $4.465 million. And Knees, Nord, LaRose, and Dubinsky are RFAs. These bottom guys, I'm not worried about them. Noel Nord would have some trade value. That's why I'm so interested in keeping him on. We could do 2 years, $1 million. 2 years at $1 million for Nord. We'll see what even happens with him. But Matthew Knees, I think there's enough room for him. If he wants to do a 1-year thing, stay as an RFA, 1.325 it would be. 1.325 for 1 year on Matthew Knees. Some people have said, there was a comment who said it's Matthew Nyes. I've heard both. I believe it was Tic Tac who once told me in a comment that it's Matthew Knees, so that's what I've been going with ever since then. So until someone really corrects me, or maybe I just gotta go watch some highlights and see what it is, I'll just keep saying Matthew Knees for now. He's on board, very good, and so is Noel Nord. All right, so here on July 14th, I think we're just about set. We still have just over $4 million to play with, which is good. If we look at our forwards, again, lots could change, but if we look at our forwards, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right there with Smith, Robinson, Knees, all those guys in. Nord would be 13th forward. Now, like I said, I would like, in a perfect world, to get Callan Lind into the lineup, and who knows, maybe Sasha Obb, maybe Neighbors. Probably not Neighbors, but I could definitely see Forsstrom growing, so it could be that Forsstrom and Lind are both in, and that would mean like Knees and Nord are both out. That is also a possibility. And defense, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with Zadorov or Mata being 7th. And then down in the AHL, no one else is really here. So yeah, that's not a problem. So there you go. I'm going to sign maybe like one more AHL defenseman. We'll take care of the RFA guys. But with all that being taken care of, Brady Tkachuk is on board. Let's go ahead and simulate up to September. We'll get to see what kind of growth was had over the offseason and a better idea of what our lines will be headed into year number 6. I will not be touching the draft classes anymore moving forward from now until the end of the series, whether we go to 20 years, 25 years, whatever. It will just be medium every year, and the scouting will be set to auto since you're not going to want to watch an hour of me doing that during the live stream and all that. So auto scouting and medium draft classes towards the end of the series from here on out. All right, so here's how we're looking at the beginning of year number 6. Catton, his 85 to 87 growth has been maintained. He's an 87. Draisaitl 96, DeBrincat 89. That top line gets the +5. Now on the second line, Wakabayashi is up to an 86 overall. Just 2 years after being drafted as a 48, he is now an 86. 5-star puck skills, 5-star defense, 5-star physical, ridiculous. He's going to get top 6 minutes, penalty kill minutes. I cannot wait to see how he simulates. On his line, I added a couple of X factors to Joel Eriksson Ek. I added quick pick because he has a very good takeaway and giveaway ratio. And there's also unstoppable force as he does throw a lot of hits and he's very strong on the puck. As you can see with the 4.5-star physical, the 5-star defense, all that good stuff. So he has 2 X factors now. Brady Tkachuk, I didn't touch his X factors, but he's an 89 here. And the second line gets a -1. That's very unfortunate. Wakabayashi would fit better in the bottom 6, as would Joel Eriksson Ek in the middle 6, and Tkachuk again in the bottom 6. So in a perfect world, we change coaches, but our coach is A+. No one else on our staff is better than B, so I don't think we can really do that right now. I could play around with Tkachuk's X factors. Maybe I make one of his silvers into a gold, maybe like Big Rig or something like that, but it wouldn't be to play with the chemistry and get like a +5. It would just be to get it to a 0, which I think makes sense. If we were to swap Wakabayashi to the third line, best we get is 0. So anyways, third line, Isaac Lundstrom, 85 overall. He had a lot of top 6 minutes last year, and he scored 57 points. So I would like him to keep getting increased minutes, playing 17.5 last season. So third slot, middle 6, second line when possible, plus maybe first unit power play even. Lundstrom can be a monster. Jaeger's up to an 82, and so is DiMaio. He played a lot of last season on the first line, scoring 26 goals. His ice time last year was 18:26. It's likely going to come down a little bit this season. I still believe in him. I still like him a lot. I think he's a great shoot-first kind of player with the 5-star shooting. Just that I'm not sure where the best fit for some of these guys is in the lineup. Fourth line will be Nord, Smith, and Nees for right now. Nord is up to an 80 overall. 13th forward at the moment would be Eric Robinson at a 79. And I really want Callan Lynn to work out. But the man's stuck at a 77 at 23 years old. I don't know if we can make it work. Does it make sense to trade out someone we know is great in Nate Smith, who costs a bit more but is guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but has proven himself, to bring in a rookie who's 3 overall less just to save a couple million? I don't know. So that's the forward situation. Defense, Morrissey, Ekblad still the same. Dursey, Graves +1. Fenton has grown to an 83 overall. So 2 years after being drafted, he's gone up from a 50 to an 83. 4-star shooting, 4-star defense. Again, another guy, I can't wait to see how he simulates. He'll get power play minutes, but there's only 10 spots in the power play, so I'll do my best. Playing with Zadorov on the bottom pair gets him a 0. Oli Mata at the moment would be 7th defenseman, also as an 81. Now, speaking of growth, he had a lot of growth over the offseason, and it's still there. Blomqvist is an 89 overall. 5-star reflexes and puck control with 4.5-star athletic, 94 5-hole, 94 breakaway. Very impressive. 91 rebound control. 2 more years at 4.85 for him, so we're definitely going to give him every opportunity to succeed. Now, hopefully he runs with it. So there's the lineup as of now. Down in the AHL, Forsstrom not growing enough to get a jump to the NHL. Same for Lashoff or for Ab. These are guys I really want to see growth from. So, of course, I still have to fix the lineup a little bit. I brought in the Roseyan, who scored like 70 points last year in the AHL. So guys like Roseyan, Svekovsky, Stankoven now at this point, who's stuck at a 76. Maybe I make a couple trades. I'd probably just do it off screen to get like a 7th in 2033. But I'll make sure that our top guys are getting the top minutes, and I'll do that on my own. So that's just about it for the lineup, ladies and gentlemen. You can add your thoughts for the power play and for the penalty kill as well, but I'm very excited to see how this team simulates. Now, one of the last things to do, we got to go to the captains and the jerseys. Now that Brian Rust is gone, we can move forward with Draisaitl as our captain, of course, and the 2 alternates being Josh Morrissey and Aaron Ekblad. I prefer not to have so many of our top guys with letters, but these are all guys with leadership experience, guys who are in their 30s now, players who have continuously delivered year after year. Someone else who I might consider could be kind of like an Isaac Lundstrom. I could also see DeBrincat someday. I don't know. He has to be more consistent in the postseason to get that. But yeah, there's a few guys out there who could maybe think about it someday. But I think Draisaitl, Morrissey, and Ekblad make the most sense for right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, that just about does it. Suggestions on the lineup, as well as suggestions for any potential contract extensions, will absolutely be welcome in the comment section. Joel Eriksson Ek would want, still way too much. So, probably his last year here. Sean Dursey, probably his last year. We have $20.3 million to play with, which, maybe we could make it work, but do we want to make it work? Because after this next season, the year after, there would be a contract for Ekblad, for Katten, so we don't want to overcommit. Wakabayashi the year after, DeBrincat the year after that, so we got to be mindful of all of those things. The very last thing that we'll do before calling it an episode is just looking at the trade blocks. Let me know your thoughts, but also keep in mind that during the live stream, you can add thoughts as we go. So yes, next episode is a full season sim, but it will be with you having the opportunity to add your thoughts as we go at the same time. So Brady Shea over in Anaheim, Chris Kreider with a ton of trade value in Arizona, Lindholm in Boston, lots of prospects in Buffalo, Uyghur and Maltsev, a prospect in Calgary, prospects in Carolina. Chicago has Brock Nelson and Anthony Duclair, among a couple other pieces. Colorado, some prospects. Columbus, prospects. Dallas, Lundqvist and Akil Thomas. Detroit, prospects. Edmonton, Nugent-Hopkins, Bertuzzi, Hyman, Comfer, Rasmussen, Geeky, a lot of names. They ended up re-signing Hyman, interesting, but wouldn't make sense for these guys to move. They've won 3 cups in 4 years. Florida prospects, LA Kings prospects, Minnesota Wild, Josh Anderson, Tyson Jost, and Brett Howden. The Canadians with some depth roster guys there, a lot of value for Yanni Gourde. Nashville, nobody, some prospects in New Jersey. Islanders have Adam Pelech with an expiring deal, that's interesting. Prospects for the Rangers, Senators, nobody. Flyers, Milano, Dellandrea, a few names. San Jose, nobody. Seattle, nobody. St. Louis, prospects. Tampa Bay Lightning, 1 prospect there. The Leafs, Pollock, Krause, Kempe, Yafalo. A lot of names and a lot of them on expiring deals as well. John Tavares, expiring deal. Vancouver Canucks, lots of names there too. Kasha Teravainen, JT Miller, Jeff Skinner. All right. Vegas, same here. Now Shea Theodore, we've been looking at him for a few years now. He's been on the block for a while. He's finally here as a player with an expiring contract. Coming off a 62-point season. Wow, a bit of an outlier, but still. Shea Theodore is out here. Knyzhov, Shillington, Washington, prospects, and other pieces. And wow, Mahalik Jr., Milan Mahalik Jr., currently still an RFA in Winnipeg. He's on the block. Rector McGroarty also, and some 2 other big-name prospects. Wow. So big moves potentially on the horizon for the Winnipeg Jets with buyer status. So find that a bit odd. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is the 2028 off-season. Wanted to get this out to you ASAP as Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. We will be simulating through the full 2028-29 season. I hope to see you there. It will be the first of 3 consecutive live streams. We'll be live Wednesday with NHL 23, live Thursday with MLB The Show with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and live Friday with the, fingers crossed, 2029 postseason here for the Penguins. So that'll be our annual fundraiser for the next NHL game, as well as a great time of getting to do it all live for a live franchise mode episode. I hope to see you there, and I hope to read all of your thoughts down here on YouTube or over on the Discord server, link in the description. Leave a like if you enjoyed this off season, if you'd like that big Brady Tkachuk pickup, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already to be made aware of all of our uploads and more NHL 24 content coming soon. So thank you very much once again for taking the time to watch, and I'm looking forward to reading all your thoughts and seeing you again live in the next one.